The Bureau is going to undertake this census this year. We had planned to undertake it last year in May, but because of COVID, we had to postpone the activity, and it's only now that we are going to undertake this activity. So the National Livestock Census is basically going to enumerate all the livestock out there, and the idea is to get livestock numbers, their characteristics by type. And when we talk about livestock, we are talking about cattle, we are talking about sheep, goats, pigs, chicken, name it.
All the domestic animals that we have.
Yes, including donkeys. We're also going to enumerate them. And we're undertaking this activity with the Ministry of Agriculture because their mandate is also to look at the issues to do with agriculture. And therefore, our appeal is the public to support this exercise. Already recruitment is going on at the district level, and the training is going to start on Monday. Okay. And yes, all districts are going to be covered in this country.
Very important, Dr. Tai. Could you please just run me through some of the undertakings that you've had as UBOS, because you talked and alluded to the National Population or National Housing Population Census, which at least is familiar to Ugandans. What other undertakings have you had or taken that Ugandans know about or even do not know about that they should know?
Oh, we undertake several surveys. There's the survey we call the Uganda National Household Survey. It's from this survey that we are able to generate poverty estimates. We also undertake the National Labor Force Survey. Actually, there's one where the training is currently ongoing, and we are going to provide indicators on the labor force in the country, unemployment rates, all issues related to the labor force. And then we are also undertaking the Uganda Demographic and Health Survey, which will provide us data on mortality rates, infant mortality, maternal mortality, child mortality, and fertility rates. Then we are going to undertake the National Service Delivery Survey, and we are doing this with the Ministry of Public Service, looking at the extent of service delivery and how the public there views government service delivery in the country. So the National Livestock Census is just one of the activities we do. In addition, we also do what we call the Census of Business Establishment. And that one is currently also ongoing, where we enumerate all the businesses in the country. So beyond the National Population and Housing Census, we actually undertake several other programs in the country to provide the statistics that the government uses to inform the different policy and planning in the country.
Okay, thank you very much. Later in the show, if time allows, we'll talk about some of the statistics that we normally tend to haggle about, especially when you talk about youth unemployment. Politicians want to put it wherever they want. Somebody will say youth unemployment is at 90%, some will say at 80%, some will say, now these I think are very unofficial figures from we the players. Come in, Dr. Mr. Okello, on this particular one. Could you please just get us through now what you tend to, why you actually here about the census itself and what it entails and what the clarion call to the public should be?
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Jagenda Semakula. I would like to inform the viewers about the history of census undertaking in this country. Okay. The first census in Uganda was undertaken in 1963, 65. And it was a sample enumeration exercise. It was undertaken by the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives then.
That's for the livestock?
It was agriculture. And
agriculture.
Yes. So it was 1% coverage, but they undertook complete coverage for the Karamoja region. And that gave us estimates for livestock. Now in 1990-91, the government of Uganda again undertook a census of agriculture and livestock. Yes, in 1990.
But in 1991, we had the National Housing and Population Census.
Yes.
In 1991.
Yes, after that, then we undertook a census of agriculture and livestock. But then some areas were not covered. Areas of Teso, areas of Acholi were not covered simply because of the insecurity that was prevalent at that time. And Another initiative was in 2008 by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries with the technical support from Uganda Bureau of Statistics. So we went to 15% of the households, and we generated estimates again at district level. So here we are supposed to be going to be undertaking censuses, what we call decennially, that is after every 10 years. To make sure that we ensure what we call periodicity, such that you can compute the growth rates. So in 2018, we had prepared to undertake the third census. This was not possible. Actually, like Imelda told you, in 2020 now, we were set again to undertake the enumeration. It was not possible because of the COVID outbreak. And then here we are now. Enumeration will now start on Monday, 24th, and the exercise will run up to 4th of June. Yes.
What do you intend to achieve in this, Mr. Okello, by taking the census of the livestock and agriculture that we have in the country?
First of all, as I've already said, censuses are undertaken after every 10 years. And the objective, the very first one, is actually to look at the structure and then the organization of the livestock sector. You have to look at the livestock herd. We are looking at issues, you are interested in looking at issues of the sexes of the animals. These are very important for issues of reproduction. We are interested in looking at the ages of the animals. Now, this statistics is very important because it helps us to actually provide benchmark information. Benchmark in the sense that when we are not undertaking censuses, we shall be able to actually undertake surveys, and those surveys will actually be benchmarked on what we get from the population, from the national livestock census. In addition, we are interested actually in building capacity for as far as livestock census taking in this country is concerned, because I participated in the 2008 census, so I come with a history and I know what we did. So it is easier for me now to improve on areas of weaknesses that we had then to make this one a better census. Yes. Very important.
Now, from the history background that you're giving to us is you've been doing it in piecemeals. I think because there were not enough facilities to facilitate or to do whatever you want to do. This time round, are you going to have to cover the whole country, or are we just calling it a national census and it will leave out some parts of the country?
There are districts that we call the cattle corridor, and they're about 60 in number. Yes. So we are going to undertake what we call a complete enumeration exercise in the cattle corridor, but we shall sample for the non-cattle corridor. It is going to be a large sample, 20% in rural areas in the non-cattle corridor, and 10% for urban areas. So this will enable us to produce statistics at sub-county level. Yes. Yes.
Dr. Imelda, coming to talk about the stakeholders here and the target beneficiaries, because yes, there is what we call the cattle corridor that we know very well, but from your introductory remarks, you said you're going to do a census of the chicken, the goats, the cow, the sheep, the virtually anything, even the camels and all the things. So let me just understand your target beneficiaries and the stakeholders in this thing to be sure that your boss and the Minister of Agriculture and my Industry and Fisheries are actually targeting right people and will get the right information from the source.
The target beneficiaries are actually the public, because at the end of the day, when government makes policies, it is for the benefit of a typical person down there in the village. A person who has got livestock would want to know what extension services are available. Okay, what is my animal suffering from? If it is, and then UBOS will be able to provide the statistics of the numbers, so that if government has to provide vaccines, it will know how the population of animals that are out there, or the pigs, depending on the type of animal. So the issue is the first beneficiary will be the typical farmer out there in the general public. Then of course government will use this data to inform its planning. Currently under the NDP3, you know, we have the agro-industrialization program, and data from the National Livestock Census will inform that program, and the different objectives spelled out. Because dairy is one of the areas that government is focusing on, and therefore want to know how many dairy cattle are out there. What are the type? Are they local? Are they hybrid? Where are they? Do these farmers have access to other facilities like the roads, like the veterinary services, and so on and so forth? And then, of course, Ministry of Agriculture is the main user, and the associated institutions under the Ministry of Agriculture, the Veterinary Association, NARO, even Operation Wealth Creation, because they supply pigs out there, but they will know the kind of environment that the farmers are raising these animals, and therefore be able to improve them so that we are able to bring people out of poverty. Because if we improve the environment that people used for raising this livestock, you subsequently improve their income from that livestock that they are rearing. Yes.
When you're carrying out the national population and housing census, there's what you normally call the census night. That before you start the exercise, before you start conducting the exercise, you go through what they call the national, the census night rather. In this particular case of the livestock, I just want to know when the exercise starts, will there be a census night for our animals, for goats and pigs and cows, or Mr. Okello?
Actually,
I am a layman in this, and I just want to understand from you.
Yes. We are not taking care of a census night, but what we have is what we call a reference period. Okay. We shall have 1 week reference period. So from 24th to like 30th is our reference period. In that 1 week, we expect the movements of livestock not to have taken much. So the situation we shall bear with that 1 week. Okay. So we have that.
So the reference period is 1 week.
1 week.
Dr. Tai, what made you laugh when I talked about the census night? Because these are things that we learn from you and know that when you are counting us tomorrow, you need to know where Jagger spent the night previously. And I need to understand.
A population and housing census. A census night is you're looking at people who spent the night in this household, who spent the night in the country.
To avoid duplicity of figures.
Yes. So what Mr. Okello is raising is right. When you're dealing with the animals, you look at a reference period. How many animals were in your household between 24th and 4th as of that period? Yes. And we're looking at animals that you have in that household where you are. Because if you're here in Kampala and you also have a farm in the village, we shall enumerate the animals that are with you here in Kampala. The ones in the village will be enumerated in the village in Kumi there, or in Imbarara. So you don't have to tell us that, oh, I have 10 cows here, but also in Imbarara, I have another 50. No, those ones will be counted in Imbarara.
Okay, very important, but what I also need to understand from you, as we go through the census, and I think any of you can actually respond to this. There is phobia, of course, from certain persons that when you go into their homesteads or where they stay, live, and start asking them, how many chicken do you have? How many goats do you have? How many things do you have? It worries some people that you're actually trying to get into the privacy of knowing what their wealth is, what they have, and possibly a number of the things. With the National Housing and Population Census, I think it becomes very easy to ask somebody, how many were in this house? How many children do you have? How many, persons? But when you start getting into details of, do you have some goats? Yes. How many? Do you have some cows? Yes. Do you have some chicken? Do you have some ducks? Do you have some the phobia? Do you think the people will embrace and delve this information freely for you to capture the necessary data that you need?
That's why partly we're here. We're here to appeal to the general public, like they have always done before. You provided us with data. We produced the statistics. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act were required to swear an oath of secrecy. So even if you told me how many cattle you have, how many goats you have, we shall not disclose it. All we shall do is to summarize the figures and give them in aggregate form that government now will use to inform policy. So we shall not say Najenda has got 200 heads of cattle. No. We shall total at sub-county level. Sub-county A has got X number of cattle. 5 of them are local, 6 of them are hybrid, and so on and so forth. The public out there has been giving us data It's not just for the livestock census, even for the population. For the surveys, they have given us sensitive information about their health, but we have kept it. So we believe that when we appeal to them, they'll be able to give us the right statistics. And indeed, I'm appealing to you that as before, please provide us the statistics. We shall not use it for any other purpose, but just to inform the planning processes.
Emphasize that, Mr. Okello, that you're not going to give this information to the IGG if some person did not declare their wealth to the IGG.
Honestly, truly, we do not provide information about a reporting unit. We don't do that. What we do, we aggregate the information and we uphold what we call the confidentiality clauses that we have in our statistical laws. So all information will be treated with the utmost confidentiality that it deserves. And we want to emphasize to the public that the information will be used for planning and policy making purposes, and also for issues of evidence-based decision making. You cannot do evidence decision making on an individual. You do it for communities, you do it for districts, you do it for sub-counties, you do it for parishes. That is the way to go. So behind even all these rich nations that you see, there is a lot of masses of information that they use for planning purposes. So again, we appeal to the general public that this information will not be misused. We cannot release information about individuals. It's not possible. Even if it were business units, we do not do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk about the multi-sectoral approach in these things. Is this a preserve of UBOS because you have the mandate to do that, and maybe the Ministry of Agriculture, or there are other different MDAs of government that are also going to help you in this exercise, because it doesn't seem like it's a simple job to do?
We are not working alone.
Okay.
The national statistical system has various participants. We have users, we have producers of information, we have providers, we have researchers, we have the academia, we have ministries, all departments and agencies of governments, the local governments. They are all into this thing. They are involved. Ministry of Local Government, first of all, we are collaborating with the districts, so they are into this thing. They are the ones who are identifying the personnel, recruiting them, deploying them, the use of extension workers, the use of the parish chiefs in this thing. They are actually involved. The OPM is providing a personnel to do supervision at national level, and so is institutions. Even FAO, the international is involved. We have NPA personnel. We have Ministry of Agriculture personnel. In fact, a lot of them are physically involved in the design of instruments, the training, name it, the whole process. So we are not moving it alone as UBOS. In fact, we are coordinating other stakeholders, and they are at this thing.
Did you understand something, Dr. Time?
Well, just to supplement that, the Veterinary Association is actually very critical. They brought to our attention the issue of the FMD, the foot and mouth disease, and they gave us the kind of SOPs, standard operating procedures that we need to follow, especially in those districts where the disease is. But generally with the livestock, if you keep certain type of livestock, there are certain SOPs that you have to adhere to. So we have given guidelines to the districts at the training at the different levels, that when they are training, they impart the right knowledge at the right time. And like Patrick has said, the district is actually a key participant in this. The cow, the chief administrative officer and his staff are involved in this exercise. The sub-county chiefs are going to be been identified to participate, the parish chiefs, up to down the enumerator. And we gave them guidelines on the kind of person that we need to come and do this enumeration, and all of them took their applications to the chief administrative officer. Okay.
Because we talk about going into people's privacies or homes or all these things to do an exercise that you're supposed to do constitutionally, I just want to again get it from you and to just give the confidence to the persons or the people out there who you're going to get into. What is expected of you when you come to homes or places in a way? Because when we're carrying out, what I understand and what I know best is the National Housing and Population Census. That I know that your enumerators come and they identify sit with me, do these things, then of course mark and say we've been here, then carry on and go. So what should the people expect first of all from EU, and what do you expect from them at the other side also? What happens on that day? How do you show up? How are you identified? And people just need to know that when you show up, they should be able to actually know and tell that these are people from government. They've come to do this particular exercise of the National Livestock Census.
Okay. We have designed census aprons. So the enumerator will be wearing a census apron, and the apron is green, and he'll be carrying he has a bag with a questionnaire which has got a hard cover. So he'll move into the household. The apron has got the year 2020. It's just because that we postponed.
It was supposed to have happened last year.
Yeah, it was supposed to happen last year. So it's going to be in 2021, but that shouldn't cause any alarm. Okay. So when the enumerator goes to the household, he will introduce himself. But before he goes there, he'll be having a guide who is from the area. Also, the enumerator himself is expected to be from the parish, resident in that parish. Okay, he should be resident in that parish. He should know the local language of that parish. He should be a person of good conduct. So even if he came, you'd most likely know that person, that this one is our boy or our girl who has been around here. But Patrick, you can.
Patrick wants to say something about that.
I'll only add that we shall issue the enumerators with the appointment letters, so they will come carrying the appointment letters. Perhaps what is important to note here is that each of the enumerators will be going to 4 villages. Okay. Yeah, neighboring villages, and he's actually a resident of one of them. So this person will be familiar with the village, and he will be moving with a guide. There will be a local guide.
Don't send me to Arua, where I've not been.
No, not you. So these people are from that, you come from one of those villages. So you move with a guide when you're in the village, and the guide introduces you to the population in case you are not known, and then you begin conducting your business.
Are politicians, religious leaders, cultural leaders, and the other civil society leaders part of the exercise? I just need to know. Or it's just a preserve over your enumerators and in a way. I just want to know, because certain people may feel very comfortable delving information if they see a religious leader or their politician or their cultural leader or whatever that means. I just want to know, are they part of the exercise or differently?
There'll be respondents.
Okay.
There'll be respondents, and our staff are not supposed to. They are not politicians.
They are not politicians.
They are not politicians. They'll basically be typical enumerators. They will take an oath of secrecy in line with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act. So even them, they are not expected to disclose information. So we shall not be working with the religious leaders as such, but if there is a religious leader who is an enumerator, who is a sub-county chief, who is a parish chief, then he'll be part of the process. Okay? If there's somebody who has his political affiliation but chooses to work with us, then they work with us in line with our Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act. And we do not expect them to go and politicize the issue of the National Livestock Census.
And you're fortunate that Yakole comes at a time where elections are done, so nobody is going to use this exercise to actually say, please vote for me. Remember me when you see me on the ballot paper. Let's talk about your enumeration areas. What are these? How many are they? And how many are you going to cover in this particular exercise, Mr. Okello?
Okay.
In the whole Uganda, there are about 70,000 enumeration areas or villages, which were actually demarcated in 2014 when we are undertaking the population and housing census. Now, we are going to about 32,000 of them. 23,000 will be from the cattle corridor, and about 9,000 will be from the non-cattle corridor. Perhaps what I want to emphasize here is that we are going both to the household sector and the non-household sector. What we shall be covering farms, the small ones. We shall also be covering what they call private large-scale farms, and then there are institutional farms. So some of these institutional farms will actually be government farms, prisons, for example. There can be farms. Even religious bodies have farms. So this is one of the ways how the religious agencies will come in also. They participate as respondents. Yes.
Okay.
So we are saying whether you are not in the cattle corridor, whereas if you're a private large-scale farm, you have to be enumerated.
Okay.
And when we talk about the large-scale ones, we have criteria for judging them. We talk about if you have, say, in the Ugandan case, above 100 cattle, for example, you qualify really to be at the large scale. That is for the indigenous. If you have 50, what could I say, hybrid animals, then you qualify automatically to be in the large scale. 100 goats, for example, 100 sheep. Yes.
Okay. Well, very important. Ladies and gentlemen, our viewers out there, we talk about the National Livestock Census, and of course, the guests in studios, Dr. Imelda Tai, the Executive Director, Deputy Executive Director from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, and Mr. Patrick Okello, the Director for Agriculture and Environmental Statistics, also from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And that's a conversation that we're having live here on UBC TV tonight. We'll take a break and return shortly after this. Don't go away.
The Uganda Bureau of Statistics, in collaboration with Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, will conduct the National Livestock Census starting on the 24th of May to the 4th of June 2021. The census is aimed at obtaining information on the structure and organization of the livestock sector and will collect data on all livestock types, breeds, and ownership by sex, land ownership, and tenure systems. The livestock census will be conducted in all the 135 districts of Uganda and will collect data from household-based firms as well as private large-scale and institutional firms. The indicators derived from the National Livestock Census will inform evidence-based planning and policy formulation. This is to inform and request all stakeholders at national, local government, sub-county, parish levels and all farmers to cooperate with enumerators and provide accurate information. For inquiries, please call 0757 779992 or 077 33 17660.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we learn, because it's those things that bring us close together.
The Uganda Bureau of Statistics, in collaboration with Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, will conduct the National Livestock Census starting on the 24th of May to the 4th of June 2021. The census is
Well, thank you so much and welcome back from that short break. We continue the conversation here over the National Livestock Census 2021. And with me in studios is Dr. Atai Imelda Mushana, the Deputy Executive Director for Uganda National Bureau of Statistics, who has been with us in studios. And of course, joining us again in studios now is Dr. Ben Senkera. Dr. Ben Senkera is from the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries. And he's with us here to also get us into this conversation. You're very welcome, Dr. Senkera.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, I'm happy to have you here, and you come from the mother ministry, which is the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. And could you please just exemplify the role of MAIF in this particular exercise that is starting next week?
Thank you very much, moderator. Good evening, viewers. The role of MAIF in this National Livestock Census, one, we worked with the Uganda Bureau of Standards to develop the questionnaire that will capture the statistics which the ministry is interested in utilizing for purposes of planning and policy actions.
Okay, very important. Let's talk about the usage of data itself, because UBOSIA is mandated to get all statistics, all the data, to inform public policy planning and all the things that government does to us. Let me just know how you at MAIF use this information, how important it is to you as a ministry.
Okay, thank you very much. The statistics is very, very important. Like my colleagues here have mentioned, most of us have to do things based on evidence. So when it comes to planning, government always has interventions. For example, when it comes to control of diseases, we can give an example of foot and mouth disease. We can give an example of goat and sheep plague. We have contagious bovine pneumonia. We also have rabies. And most of these diseases are trade sensitive. Rabies is a zoonotic, and the government has a role to control them. So government is always procuring vaccines, but all along, sometimes you procure these vaccines not knowingly how many livestock are you targeting for. So the census that is going to be conducted will provide us the evidence of the available number of livestock in terms of the cattle, the goat, the sheep, which government is targeting to control such kind of diseases. But also we have government programs, for example, community breeding. We want to know which communities are involved in which livestock sector. So by knowing the statistics of how many animals are available and which area is doing which particular livestock enterprise, it enables us to do proper planning, to know which area can we intervene. Then we also have other programs, for example, government restocking programs. If we are going to restock, for example, we have a Teso region where there is restocking in northern Uganda. You cannot restock minus knowing, for example, which kind of breed, for example, does well in that particular region. So it enables us to know which breed is suitable for Teso region, which one is suitable for Western, for Central, among others.
It's a zoning of sorts.
It's zoning of sorts. The other use of census is we have other government interventions. For example, we have water for production. Now, water for production, we have areas, for example, semi-arid areas. I can give an example of Karamoja region, Teso region. We also have some areas in the central region like Nakaseke, Zimbabwe, which usually experience droughts. So when it comes to water for production, you need to know how many livestock population are in these areas, so that when you come in to put up measures for water harvesting, you know how many animals you are targeting for. But one thing which I shouldn't forget to mention is, I talked about rabies. Rabies is a zoonotic disease, and it's the responsibility of government, both the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, but also Ministry of Health, to plan to provide, for example, for Ministry of Agriculture to provide rabies vaccine, to vaccinate the cats and dogs. But also Ministry of Health has to plan for what we call PEP, that is post-exposure prophylaxis. Without knowing the number of cats and dogs, because that's one of the things we have included in the tool, which we are going to use to capture data, the Ministry of Health will not know the areas with a high number of dogs and cats, which they have to plan for. The same applies to Ministry of Agriculture. So we need to know that these are the number of cats and dogs that we have to plan for. As you also recall, we have international mandates. For example, there is a need to control, to eradicate rabies by 2030. So we cannot eradicate such diseases if we are not sure how many are in the country and where they are located. So that's how the Ministry of Agriculture is planning to use the data that will be collected from the National Livestock Census. Thank you.
I thank you so much, Dr. Senkera. Before Dr. Tai here comes in, we'll talk also about the foot and mouth disease, because I think it's one of the problems that we have, and it's working out. Now, you'll notice that people who rear chicken, for example, they have their poultry in their homes or houses. They have certain SOPs that they manage by themselves. There's certain soaps that you just don't get into their poultry farms. You just don't get into their sties and all the things. I just need to know. Now there is a foot and mouth disease, and what are some of these SOPs that you're going to put your emphasis on as you go around the country in these different enumeration areas to get and collect statistics or data for this particular census?
Okay, thank you very much. The first thing which our viewers need to know is that foot and mouth disease is not all over the country. There are specific districts that have foot and mouth disease. Okay. And some of these, when a quarantine is instituted, it's not instituted on the whole district, but rather on a sub-county within a particular district.
Where the problem is.
So where the problem is. So now, as a Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, together with WUBOS, we worked out standard operating procedures, which the enumerators will have to use as they enter, they move from one homestead to another. The first thing which we pointed out was that the enumerators have to disinfect their footwear before they enter into a particular homestead. And when they leave, they have to disinfect. Remember, this disinfectant can kill the virus, which causes foot and mouth disease. So that's one thing. The second thing which we thought of, that the enumerators will not be counting animal per animal. We're not going to do counting, but rather it's a sort of interview that we're going to have during this data collection. So they are not going to come into contact with animals, and that one is not expected. So that one reduces the cases of one transmitting diseases from one area to another, because you are reducing contact, which would also expose one to move the disease. But the other thing which we're encouraging is that as we enter into homesteads, livestock rearing homesteads, we expect that these homestead should also have measures which we refer to as biosecurity, to make sure that before you enter, their shoes are also disinfected, because they are those ones which have foot baths. So we expect that people would be able to step into the foot bath, have their soles or footwear soaked in there, and then the virus can be deactivated, and such cases will reduce the spread of the disease.
Thank you. Dr. Tai, like I said, I understand the National Housing and Population Census. I participated, or I witnessed one in 1991, in 2002, and in 2014. And I just want to know here from you the key or pertinent areas of your questionnaire, because when we are doing a census for human beings in the population census that we normally do, is there are certain things that go beyond just knowing how many people are in my household. You ask about how we receive information, whether we use TV or radio, how we feed, how we do all these little things in there. Let me know, or let the public know, when we get to this particular one, what is going to be captured on that questionnaire, apart from you just telling, I have 10 or 20 or 30 goats or all the things. What key and pertinent issues are expected on your questionnaire?
First of all, thank you very much. We shall get the name of the household, the head of the household, the sex of the household, the kind of animals they keep, the number of the animals, the sex of these animals. What is the sex of these animals? And then we also look at whether you receive extension services. How often do you receive these extension services? And from where? When was the last person, who last visited your farm and gave you extension services? Where do you get your seeds? Do you buy them? Is it available within the district? And so on and so forth.
Do you think that these people that you're going to talk to have virtually all the details? Or I'm looking at that, I'm looking at somebody who just rears cows and they just have goats, they just have chicken, they have all these things, but they do not know. Possibly the types, some people especially now, leave alone these who are doing business, that they can actually tell these are croilers or these are what do they call them? They are broilers and
layers
and broilers and but there are those who just have chicken in the house. There are those who just have goats. I even don't know whether they are different rabbits from what possibly. But do you think that the people that you're going to talk to have all these, or there will be some prompting to see and to get the right information from the people?
Yes, through the training, the extensive training. In fact, we first started by training at national level. We trained our persons who are going to collect the data, who are going to train people at district level to understand those kind of varieties. So that where a farmer fails to identify, we expect our enumerator to be able to tell that this is a hybrid or this is a local breed. But normally farmers know the kind of livestock. You'll be surprised that these people actually know the kind of animals that they are keeping. Very few of them do not know the kind of animals they are keeping. But you can tell a local cow from a hybrid cow, even by looking. But what we have done as UBOS is to train our people to know the difference, where the farmer fails to differentiate whether this is exotic or this is a hybrid, this is a local. We should be able to tell and also provide pictures of the different kinds of livestock that they expect to find down there. Okay. Maybe the key challenge will be the piggery, because almost all the pigs are exotic, okay? And there are different varieties. But even that, there's an attempt by our enumerators to come up with the actual numbers by the different types of livestock.
Okay. From the last census that you had, which I think Mr. Okello alluded to here, over 2008,
yes,
I think, because you're supposed to have had in 2018. How have you used that information of 2008 to inform this other exercise that we're going to get into? I just want to know, because when you went through that, you had the key recommendations in there, you had observations, and you had the outputs from the 2008 census. How has the 2008 census informed now the exercise that we're going to get into next week? Well,
the design of the questionnaire, because for instance, we kind of tend to maintain the same questions because you want to see a trend. Okay. How are things then and how are things now? For instance, then there were 4.5 million households that were rearing at least one kind of livestock. So we want to find out, has the situation changed? Is it the same? We also realize that a majority of the households they are keeping livestock are actually keeping the local breeds. About only 7% are having exotic. So we want to find out, is the situation different? And if it is local breed, what is it that government can do to improve this local breed so that maybe the kind of meat that a bull produces is good enough for us to market, to export, and so on and so forth. So we shall not deviate much from what we did last time, but we shall just extend the coverage to ensure that we collect the data that we need to inform the agro-industrialization in this country. Okay. Dr. Senkera, our time is running out. We have only 4 minutes to be out of studios. You wanted to come in there, but also want to give you one of the parting shots here. Is what do you think should be expected output of the exercise that you're going to get into?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me first come in to supplement what Dr. Neda mentioned. Under agro-industrialization, the government has a program to increase our export base for animals and animal products, for instance. You cannot increase the export base minus knowing the capacity of the country to raise the required animals and animal products. So, by knowing, for example, our colleagues in the Middle East, in Europe, are interested in our animals and animal products because of their palatability. But what happens is that sometimes we fail to raise the required numbers. So by knowing the statistics, then the government will know which breed of animal, for example, cattle, grows very fast. You get it. And therefore, government can intervene in where government can support artificial insemination services, which are becoming more and more common through NAGRIC. That one is working very well. Then the other issues is related to, we didn't mention about the bees. It's one of the things which is being captured in the questionnaire. Our honey is loved a lot in Europe. So we need to know the production capacity of the country so that we can attract more market. for our products.
Okay.
And we need to know, for example, the number of people engaged in a apiary, the quantity of honey which is being produced. Now, when by getting back to the question which you raised, what are our expectations? We expect to get quality data from the census, which will inform government decision on a number of interventions that government plans to undertake under the agro-industrialization program.
Okay. Well, Dr. Senkera, I want to thank you so much for being allowed to join us in studios this evening to talk to us about the National Livestock Census. And finally, in just 1 minute from you, Dr. Imelda, because our time has really run out, finally, I want you to make your clarion call to the public and to assure them that the information that they're going to give to you is for the good of all of us and not to damage anybody.
Thank you very much. So dear viewers, one, we want to thank you for being glued to your TVs. Our appeal to you is that please provide us the statistics. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics is going to conduct the National Livestock Census from the 24th up to the 4th of June. Please give us the numbers of livestock that you have. Do not fear. We have an oath of secrecy. The only data that we shall disseminate will be aggregate data at sub-county level to inform planning and decision making. So when our enumerators come out there, kindly provide the data that is required. This activity is going to be undertaken in all districts in the country. The cattle corridor will be 100% census, and then the non-cattle corridor we shall sample, but we shall provide estimates for all sub-counties in the country. So do not fear, please cooperate with us so that we are able to inform and you are also able to plan for the future of your household, because you'll be able to export. You'll be able to produce more milk. You'll be able to produce more chicken, and you'll be able to supply. The population of the country is growing at 3%, and we expect the population to double by 2040. So, and therefore the consumption of animal products is going even to increase. We appeal to you, please provide us the information that we require to plan and to inform decision making in this country. We want to thank you in advance, and we believe, as you've always cooperated, you'll cooperate with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malda, and thank you so much, Dr. Senkera, and thank you so much, Mr. Okello, for having allowed to be part of this conversation. Now, back to the public. It is our responsibility, of course, all of us as citizens of Uganda, to participate and to be part of the exercise that is starting. It's not an exercise that should worry you. You've got an assurance from the people here. If they come to your places, please give them the necessary and the real information. Now, I'll stop this here and pave way for Michael Jordan Lokoma, who will be coming on with the news at 10 o'clock. And thanking you so much. To also remind you that tomorrow, we again will bring you Parliament Live when members of the 11th Parliament take oath of office for the greater part of tomorrow and on Thursday. I wish you all the best. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka. Wishing you a very blessed night. For God and my country, stay blessed as we continue inspiring Uganda. Blessings and good night. Thank you very much.
With Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries will conduct the National Livestock Census starting on the 24th of May to the 4th of June 2021. The census is aimed at obtaining information on the structure and organization of the livestock sector and will collect data on all livestock types, breeds, and ownership by sex, land ownership, and tenure systems. The livestock census will be conducted in all the 135 districts of Uganda and will collect data from household-based firms as well as private large-scale and institutional firms. The indicators derived from the National Livestock Census will inform evidence-based planning and policy formulation. This is to inform and request all stakeholders at national, local government, sub-county, parish levels and all farmers to cooperate with enumerators and provide accurate information. For inquiries, please call 0757 779992 or 077 3317 660.
is wrong with the instruction?
To lose your temper within me. It's gotta be something other than kidnapping people.
Maybe in America. Maybe in America.
Go ahead. Holy boss story. Cool?
No, it's not cool.
Cool.
No, listen.